ETs have finally revealed to me my ancient past life. It all makes sense now, but I don't know how to live with what I've done. Question your reality, then change it. Grand solar flash is almost here. What will the event be like, and are you ready? It's time to enter the portal to the new earth. Choose your frequency. Drop your attachments. ThunderWizard.com is the website that supports this YouTube channel. Please go and check out all of the ways that you can learn from all of my experience. My books can be found at michaelwilliamdenny.com. So, ETs have finally revealed to me my ancient past life. And now I have a different understanding of why I'm here and why we're doing what we're doing. But unfortunately, the cost of knowing has been one of the most difficult things I've ever experienced, and I'm struggling with learning how to live with the knowledge of what I've done. Oh, this is another video. So, you've heard me, if you've been following the channel, you've heard me explain very briefly. I won't go into the details, but ETs, as you know, told me 2.5 years ago, you're king of Earth, and you're going to be king of Earth in the new 5D, and this is going to be difficult for you to hear, but the reason why you are going to be the king of Earth is because you were the first king of Earth, and there were things that you did that helped to create the scenario that we are living through now, and so you will have to balance what you did in that original life. Now, I didn't get any details. The truth of the matter was I was just still flipping out over the fact that I was talking to, beings like this gentleman behind me, and, all kinds of crazy interdimensional stuff that was just absolutely just boggling my mind. So I really wasn't in a position to wrap my head around that. I was just getting my head around the concept of, is it possible for somebody could be king of Earth? What the heck does that mean? And so you've been following the channel probably for the past couple of years, and you know a lot of the stuff that's been going on. And but it all makes sense now. I was told 6-8 months ago, a year ago, I don't know, that I was going to fly through the air like Superman, and I would fly out into space, and I would be sending energy to Earth, and the Earth would be transformed because of the energy that I was, putting into it and all of that. And I took it literally, and I was like, what? How is that even? That's so freaky. You telling me I'm going to jump off the balcony here and fly through space like Superman? That's not possible. What do you mean? And they were like, don't worry, don't try and figure it out. You're not going to understand right now. And then they came back twice, like 2 separate, times, days later, and said the same thing. When the time comes, you'll know exactly what to do. And as you know, the first time that we went and did the live guided interdimensional meditation, you can probably find it on the channel. It was, 2.5 years ago. And I just did it on a whim because I was just learning about the solar flash and what that was. And no, it's going to be energy from the sun. Oh, how cool is that? Well, why don't we just do that? And I just had this feeling that maybe we should, I should do a live meditation and we should go do this. So I did. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just thought, we'll just go out in our astral bodies and we'll go to the sun and we'll send energy to Earth. And, why wait around? Let's get things done. Because they had said, when I asked them, when is the solar flash going to come? They said, when you decide. I didn't know if they were just being, you know, how spiritual people talk like that. You are everything. And I say it and I mean it, but they say it and it's all symbolic. And so I didn't know what was going on. So I said, "What the hell?" Right? And as soon as I did that, as you've heard me say many times, the light beings, thousands of them, were absolutely beside themselves with gratitude. You have no idea what you've done. This is so important. Later on, my friend here took me out to the sun and said, "Watch this." And he went into the sun and he tried to send solar energy to the earth and he couldn't do it. He said, "See, I can't do that. Only you can do it. I can't do it." So, and then at one point, light beings came to me and said, "How would you like to be the person responsible for bringing 5D to Earth? How would you like that?" And I said, "I'd love that. That sounds like a blast." And they said, "Okay, there it is. You are. It's you. You're the one that's going to bring it." So that's all so incredibly grandiose, isn't it? I mean, it's so unbelievable. And as you know, I've taken all of this. I've learned to keep my sanity by taking everything at face value, accepting it, but not trying to figure it out and not becoming emotionally attached to it. In other words, I don't care if it's true or not. I don't care if it's symbolic. I don't care if it's a fantasy. I don't care if it's real. I'm going to accept the possibility that it's exactly what I'm interpreting, and it could be just totally symbolic, and it could be nothing. That's where I've lived because that's what's kept me alive. And the actual thought of that is so grandiose. I mean, really, it's so over the top. You're the one that's going to do it. It's going to be, you have that power. And then we started doing later on, I became aware that, hey, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help guide people to do this. And my vision was that we would have, thousands and millions of people doing this across the world. And that didn't end up happening. It's been, those of you who are faithful to the channel, usually about 30 people show up for the live streams, and maybe a few hundred might watch them afterwards. And that's not nothing, but the experiences that I have when I'm out there are absolutely unbelievable, and the energy that I feel, and and then we started seeing the world like drastically shifting, and I started having these very powerful energetic experiences that told me I'm not just imagining it. There's something really happening in these meditations. And then on the 14th, August 14th, you can go back and watch it. The light being said, "That's it. You did it. We're done." Like, what? Yeah, no, you did it. You created the shift. You created the flash. I guess it's coming. It hasn't got here yet, as far as I know. But again, the light beings told me that the solar flash was a series of solar waves. Anyway, point I'm getting to is that the grandiosity and the fantasticalness of it was very hard to accept. That why me? Why do I have supposedly all of this power? And it's just, it seems over the top. It seems, I've always felt it's just too much. I accept it. I'll do it. It sounds great. I mean, gosh, who doesn't want to have that, understanding that, hey, you're a super being. You're just like, you're like a god, and you're able to do all these, completely change the world. And, you and the people that you work with have this unbelievable power, and you're guiding them into I mean, who doesn't? I mean, that's a nice idea. I got to tell you, I don't need it. I've never needed it. It's never been. It's not. If you're thinking, as I would if I were watching my channel, if you're thinking that I've got some hidden need to be grandiose, and I mean, I really don't. I like being my greatest fantasy is really just to live in nature in a world where there's no such thing as money and banks, and people get everything they need from the earth, and we communicate with light beings and spirits, and I get to just surf and live in the forest and eat from my my garden, and that's really all that I would imagine my perfect reality to be. So I'm really not this closet narcissist who wants to have all. It's really not my conscious desire at all. I've accepted it, and I could see, okay, this is nothing. There's some fun stuff here to fantasize about, and I'll go along with it, sure. But I really felt like it was just overkill. And then beings came to me. I don't know how many days ago it was. I want to say like between 3 and 5 days ago. And actually about a week ago, beings started showing up and saying, okay, you're going to get some energy coming up here soon, and it's going to be very challenging. Now, I didn't really pay attention to it because I've heard things like that before, and I'll get like a jolt of energy, or I'll get an upgrade and it'll be a lot, and I'll have to adjust to the energy. But so I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but I've learned to remember it, but as I said, didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And then a couple of days ago, as I woke up, I got hit with this jolt of energy, and it was very intense, and it was difficult. It was like dark and intense, and wow, where did this come from? Then, and I think I was probably energetically connecting to a memory that I wasn't consciously aware of. And then whenever it was 3 or 4 days ago, some light beings showed up, and of course it wasn't anything visual, it was energetic and telepathic, and they said, do you remember when we first met? And I said, who are you? They said, we're the Atlanteans. And I had this feeling that they were Pleiadians. And I said, are you Pleiadians? And they said, yes, I think they said we founded Atlantis, or we were something. They had a strong connection to Atlantis. By the way, if you want to see some crazy stuff about Atlantis, go look for the Richat structure in Africa. It's spelled Richat. And there's some absolutely amazing evidence that in fact was Atlantis. And there's some evidence to that. Most people think, as I have, that Atlantis was an island or a continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But there's one of the things that Plato says that doesn't make any sense, because he says after Atlantis was sunk and flooded, there was an earthquake, and it was flooded and destroyed. Then he says that there was this backup of mud that made it impossible to sail up to the city. And so that's always been strange, because, well, if Atlantis sunk, why would there be this big thing of mud that made it impassable? Until you realize that the word for island in ancient Greek has multiple meanings, including peninsula, inlet. It doesn't mean necessarily an island in the middle of the ocean. So go check that out, because it's really amazing. It's real, especially when you look at it from space. It looks exactly like the Eye of Horus. It's just crazy. And I keep thinking, what a powerful place to be. If somebody wanted to, like, psychically rule the earth, that, the symbolism is just undeniable. That would be the place to be, and it's so significant that place is just now a desolate wasteland, and nobody pays any attention to it. All of its power was taken away. So these beings said that they were Atlanteans, and something about we were working together, or I was the ruler of Earth, whether they were spiritually advising me or who knows what, something along those lines. But as you've heard me say, I won't go into it too deeply. I wanted to use the technologies that I had learned, the spiritual technologies that I had learned, that we had gathered, that had been shared with us. I wanted to use that to keep the earth from descending into eventually Kali Yuga, because as you see here, the Yugas go in 12,000 year cycles, and they ascend. They go from Kali Yuga and they ascend to Satya Yuga. Then once you hit the peak, then it reverses itself and it descends back into Kali Yuga. And apparently I knew this was coming, and I wanted to prevent that. So I decided to use these spiritual technologies to keep the frequency, the 5D, what we call 5D frequency, on the earth, so that people wouldn't lose their spiritual awareness. And I was counseled against that, and apparently I stubbornly refused to listen to that counseling, and I did things like build the pyramids and do other things to create this spiritual frequency. There's a bunch of stuff in South Africa also that's just been, nobody knows about, but like tens of, hundreds of square, hundreds or thousands of acres of these rock formations that were made by people to direct energy, and they have all these different geological and mathematical structures that work with sound, and they still have power to them. So I'm imagining from that base in what is now Mauritania, I must have been able to, that the pyramids combined with all the other stuff around the world were used to create sound and vibration. And I probably had, and I just got a jolt as I said that, I probably had teams of priests and people like that who were at these sites who were chanting and doing rituals to keep the vibration going. And then we had the collapse, which you see here, which was about 12,000 years ago, the Younger Dryas catastrophe, and that's directly opposite where we are now. And so bottom line is that I was well-meaning, but I made a huge mistake. And as a result, the earth crashed. It didn't slowly descend like it was supposed to, it crashed. And as a result, destroyed, the destruction was worldwide, and it was almost complete and total. So these beings came to me, and these Atlanteans came to me, and they said, they told me the story of what happened and what I ended up causing to planet Earth. And that was very hard to hear, and it made me very sad, and I wept about it. But as I always do with these experiences, I chalked it up to, I have no idea if this is real or not. And I assumed, like every other one of these experiences, within a day or two, the energy would resolve itself, and I would, be back to where I was, and I would go, that was a really cool interest, and I'd have this really cool story. But that's not what happened. What ended up happening is that there was like this awakening within me of not a memory of I can see it and remember it. It's more just like emotionally the awakening of the memory has been, it's been awakened. It's the best way to describe it. And it's been one of the most painful experiences, right up there with the death of my fiance. It's at that level of pain, and it's just a heaviness in me that doesn't go away. I keep thinking, I'll get a good night's sleep and I'll wake up, but it's still here. It's still with me. And I understand now. People ask, how come we can't remember our past lives? And, I'm here to say, I'm not sure that you want to remember. Because if you remembered your past lives, you might not be able to function. And the point behind this is that this experience has really shown me that what I'm experiencing is real. And what I've been told is the truth. And what I have interpreted is the truth. And what has given me that feeling has been this experience. Because if this were just some fantasy that my brain was making up, there's the level of grief that I'm carrying with me is not commensurate with a fantasy. I mean, I used to be an actor. I was a good actor, and I was a method actor. So I knew I was able to convince myself, put myself into an emotional state where, on screen or on stage, I was able to really live that character and believe it. But as soon as the curtain came down or the director said cut, I was able to turn it off and become myself again. Oh, I can tap into that. I'd done a lot of emotional and psychological work. I can tap into that. But so I know what it feels like when there's been a falsely manufactured emotion or fantasy. And even if, because when you fantasize, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a fantasy and a reality. So, all of that is true. But the level of grief that I'm feeling and the level of guilt that I'm feeling is not something I could have manufactured. And there's no way I would have been able to live my life if I had been born with this knowledge. If I had been born with this knowledge that I had caused, the fall of mankind and the destruction of millions of plants and animals and billions of people, and created this darkness that we've been living through for 12,000 years. If I had been born with that knowledge, I wouldn't have been able to function. I wouldn't have been able to live my life. So, it's not, people want to know, how come I can't remember my past lives? Well, this is one of those, this is why. Because you wouldn't be able to function. And as I've said before, a lot of people, here's an interesting thing, I know because I've seen it, but people who have spiritual powers, some people who have, like, for instance, healing powers. You've heard me talk about this before. But people who have real, like, spiritual healing powers, and then they let it go to their head and they become cult leaders, all of them have horrific falls. And I've seen in particular one person give themselves cancer and almost kill themselves. This was somebody who had magical powers, and he got lost in a real narcissistic fantasy, and he started lying about who he was and where he got his knowledge, and he had followers, and many of them became demon possessed later. So this is what he doesn't remember is that his powers came because in a past life he abused people. And so if you're a healer, like you're a healer that heals thousands of people, it's because you perhaps, deleted, tortured, harmed thousands, millions of people. And so the way that you balance it out is by being a healer. And the universe is so kind, it doesn't let you remember why you've been given this ability. And all it is you're just balancing out the damage you've caused. That's all it is. It's not a superpower. When we were doing this and it became seemingly apparent to me that I had this very powerful ability to go out in the astral realm and literally send energy into the sun and release energy on Earth that had the ability to shift, consciousness, that seemed like such an immense power. But what was confusing is that I didn't seem to have any more power than anybody else here in 3D. I wasn't able to, nobody knows. I don't walk down the street and people don't go, "Oh my God, it's him." Nobody cares. I'm no different than anybody else here in the third dimension. And that's interesting. Why is that? I mean, I appreciated that fact. I actually appreciated it because it allowed us to do the work without getting distracted by any other crazy weirdness. But the reason why is very simple. It's because whatever power has been given to me is because it's just simply balancing out the damage that I caused. That's all that it is. It's not a superpower. It's nothing that I need to first worry about. Why me? Why do I have all this power? And it's nothing that I even have the right to feel, grandiose about. It's just I got to clean up the mess I made. That's it. I made a huge mistake and caused the younger Dryas cataclysm, and I got to clean up my mess. That's it. And so the fastest way for me to clean up my mess is to be given the ability in meditation to go and channel huge amounts of power to Earth so that Earth can shift. That's it. That's it. So all I'm doing is I'm just balancing my karma out. It doesn't make me any, this was, I knew that I was no different than anybody else, but that knowledge was like, how do I, and I knew that if somebody else had this ability, that might literally go to their head and make them, but I've never felt any different, because I'm not different than anybody else here. No different. I just happen to have made a huge mistake that had huge impact on the entire planet, and I have to clean up my mess. That's it. So in 5D, if I truly am going to be this king, I've already fantasized, long before I knew the significance of it. And what I fantasized was that I would create a bubble of high frequency energy that would protect people and give them the freedom to experience their soul and have a good time and enjoy themselves. And, that's exactly what I was trying to do before, and I screwed up. And this time I get to do it right. That's it. That's it. So it all makes sense now. And I'm talking about it, so hopefully I can work through it and relieve myself of, the guilt, which is just overwhelming. And again, this is what proves to me what we're doing is real. Everything that we've been shown, everything that they're telling us is real. Because I wouldn't be having this experience if it weren't. And it also tells me that the solar flash, if there is going to be a single event, it's coming very soon. Because I really don't know how to live with this and stay in the third dimension. I have no interest in anything having to do with this third dimensional consensus. I have no desire to pay bills and pay taxes and just be a part of this society thing. I just can't do it anymore. I can't, the illusion is gone. And, so it makes sense what they've said. They said to me a while back, a year ago, your work on this planet has come to an end, which I believe was my karmic work, it explains why I had such an intense desire to warn people, about their behavior, and why I've been pushing so hard for consciousness, and why I'm so direct with people that are lost in, their ridiculousness, and that's over. I don't need to work that karma out in that way anymore. And then when they said recently, your time on this planet has come to an end. And I feel that. The only thing that keeps me here is the thought of surfing. And I'm starting to get too old to really surf at the level I want to surf. So there's not really anything left for me here. So my time on this planet has come to an end. I can feel that. And then with this last piece of the puzzle, because this knowledge is not something that people should be aware of. This is something that you're shown after you leave this world. And then you have that revealed to you, and then you go, okay, I'm going to go back to Earth, and I'm going to work out some karma. And then you create a fictional story, and you attract yourself to certain family members that are going to push buttons in you. You experience it as challenges and abuse, but they're pushing karmic buttons in you so that you will heal and move and grow. And then your life's work in the third dimension, as a doctor, as a healer, as a teacher, as a musician, as an actor, as a spiritual teacher, these are all ways that you work out that karma, but you tell yourself, it's this play that I'm playing, but it's something, much deeper. And so for 12,000 years, I've been trying to learn the lesson. I think I've been punishing myself for 12,000 years in various lifetimes, and I think I've been learning how to forgive myself, and learning how to, realize, have humility. As my ex-wife, who, wasn't all that into all of the spiritual stuff I was into, as she said, when I was upset that I wasn't a famous actor, she said, you were a king in a past life. You're not supposed to be famous in this life. How the hell do you know that? She says, I don't even know how I know that. It's just a feeling I have. It's all coming together. So I appeal to you. I appeal to you, any of you listening, to drop, if you can, to drop any attachment to trying to get approval from this world. Money, prestige, fame, power, wealth, reputation, none of these things will give you what you want. And more importantly, there's not going to be a consensus for that. It's all coming down. And holding on to those things are only going to prevent you from being able to let go and move into this new shift. So I'll make another video about what I think the solar flash is. I think it might be coming very soon. I'm not attached to that, but my sense tells me that, it's almost here. And so I'll make a video about that. But anyway, so my deepest apology to the entire Earth for the mistakes that I made 12,000 years ago. And if any of you have suffered as a result of that in this life or in previous lives, and to the Earth herself and to all other beings, I give my deepest apologies. And I will endeavor to do everything in my power to rectify the damage I have caused and to shift that energy. And that includes forgiving myself and loving myself. And I also know that the world needs an example of how to go into this next phase with joy and with happiness. And I have every intention and every commitment to be that and to do that, which means that I have to really be happy and enjoy myself and follow what I've been teaching, which is, the shamanic secret commandment, which is to find my deepest soul desire and to give that to myself first, and to live that as an example for others as well as for my own happiness. And I look forward to serving the multiverse as a king who creates a safe space for all souls to live out their deepest fantasies. And I look forward to saying goodbye to this planet and this version of Earth, which will, I think, be deleted. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the new Atlantis.